Namaste and greetings, and welcome to the Center for Spiritually Integrated Arts, a Centers for Spiritual Living teaching center. I'm Reverend Dr. Raymond Anderson, the founding minister and spiritual director. If you ever have questions about who I am, who we are, what we do, what is Spiritually Integrated Arts? What is a teaching center? What is Centers for Spiritual Living? What is metaphysical spirituality? What is New Thought? Science of Mind and Spirit? How do I become a member? How can I support, tithe, and donate? All of these questions and so many more. Send an email. You have two options. SIAADMIN, Spiritually Integrated Arts, admin at spirituallyintegratederarts.org, or spirituallyintegratederarts@gmail.com. Either of those will work. You can also visit our website, www.spirituallyintegratederarts.org. Now, you may be wondering, where else can I find and follow? There are several other social media platforms that you can also subscribe and follow. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and our YouTube channel, where you can also find all of our Sunday messages and more. I look forward to hearing from you soon. I look forward to you being a part of this beloved community. Because we are a virtual community, it doesn't matter where in the world you are. This can also be your spiritual community, because you can have more than one. Anywhere that you feel supported, anywhere you are spiritually fed is home, is community, is relationship. So I look forward to dialoguing more, conversing more, getting to know you. Much love and appreciation. Live long and prosper. Chat with you soon. Take care. Namaste and greetings. So today we are diving into the idea of the tyranny of or, either or. That there's this paradox of it's either right or it's wrong. Because our world is full of polarities that are pushing us and pulling us and tugging to the very breaking point in so many ways. One could easily look at things going on with the economy and the cost of living and how many people are working multiple jobs to simply get by. The breaking point is right here, right now, for so many, in so many ways. And we have been so committed and indoctrinated to the idea of choosing the either or. And because of this, we have been unable and, in many cases, unwilling to look at or look for solutions that exist when we open and embrace and accept and practice a new way of thinking, a new way of being. Because right now we are at a tipping point. We are at the very precipice that requires us, not just in spiritual community, in education, in politics, in the judicial system. This tipping point exists everywhere, not even just in the United States of America. It exists everywhere, and it requires us to step fully into a new way of being, else we risk being consumed and swallowed up by that old, outdated mindset, whatever it is, capitalism, that old, outdated mindset, whatever it is, toxic patriarchy, whatever it is. Well, you have weapons of mass destruction. We need more. Even though we could destroy the planet 1,000 times over, why have more? That old, outdated mindset is no longer working. The old, outdated mindset that says either you're a boy or you're a girl, and that's it. Well, there's no gender fluid, gender rich, non gender conforming. No. When I was a kid, there was no talk about this transgender stuff. When I was a kid, there was no LGBTQ 7, 8, 9, 10. When I was a kid, Black people knew their place. When I was the old, outdated mindset didn't work then. It sure as heck doesn't work now. We must be willing to release ourselves individually and collectively from the tyranny, from the domination of the or as a concept, as a consciousness, so that we can step into and embrace and embody this third way, which actually it's not a third, because that implies, well, there's one, then there's the two, which is or, and the third means three choices. So one, I get A. There's no choice because I can't even choose not to take A. So A is just there. A or B. Well, I could choose A or I could choose B. Third way implies that there's an A, B, C. Actually, the third way is the myriad of possibilities. We just refer to it as the third way, but it actually means the 10,000 ways, as is often spoken of in Buddhism and Taoism, etc., as the countless possibilities. So we step into and embrace and embody the multitude of possibilities and potentialities of how we evolve, how we grow, how we shift, so that we move past the old, outdated, and step into the new mystery and unknown, the new mystery of what can be when we are willing to step into it. Nidhi Sharma says, force is often used to enforce peace. And an A-bomb did bring World War II to a shuddering halt. The funniest people sometimes commit suicide, and good souls often break a zillion hearts. That's just who we are. Sinners and saints in equal measure. Our contradictions continually shaping our humanity. And if we deny these paradoxes, we deny the existence of the very evolution that got us here. See, we often think that if you're funny, Robin Williams, then you must be fine. You must be okay. And yet, what's going on emotionally beneath the surface? We think that, well, if the person is good, then how can the paradox? And see, the more we understand how consciousness works and shows up in our lives, the more we become judgment free. The more we understand that there are countless ways that grief is experienced. And that just because someone has a smile on their face doesn't mean they're not that pain doesn't also exist. Just because someone appears confident externally, we don't know what's going on internally. Just because someone is very extroverted in this environment, and then we wonder why all of a sudden are they so quiet and shy or introverted, because it takes energy to be extroverted. And sometimes we simply go into a space of, I need to recharge. So, how do we look at what's going on? So, for example, it says the A bomb did bring World War II to a shuddering halt. How do we move past even that paradox to the point where what brings war to a shuddering halt is the eradication of the consciousness that creates war? How do we not deny our evolutionary processes, what got us to where we are, and what's going to move us to the next evolutionary leap? But how do we embody it? How do we embrace it? How do we practice it actively and consciously? How do we move past simply the or as though it's as clear as, well, he's either Clark Kent or he's Superman? He can't be both. He's Michael Keaton. He's Batman. What about Christian Bale? Which one is actually Bruce Wayne? Which one is, well, what about the most recent iteration of Batman? Which Batman is the real Batman? It can't be a third way, a fifth way, a ninth way, a 1,000th way. Does it really matter which one is Diana Prince or which Wonder Woman is Wonder Woman and which Spider-Man is Spider-Man? See, when we get stuck in the or, what we do is we say, Toby Maguire is the only Spider-Man that I'll accept. He was the only good one. Well, he's the only good one for you. He's the one that you enjoyed. Well, Linda Carter is the, yes, I understand, because you grew up in a certain era that you don't recognize or refuse to recognize that Gal Gadot is the current Wonder Woman, the current iteration of. For those who are bound by white supremacy, they don't acknowledge Miles Morales as Spider Man. They can't, because they are so conditioned to the tyranny of or that they only see what they want to see. But if we're going to truly be open at the top, open at the bottom, we are truly going to be these evolutionary beings, then we must move into both and. Not either or, not neither nor, but this and also that. Because there are a multitude of ways that spirit, source, God, the universe shows up. So the metaphysics of the movie Radio, there is a great scene where in the movie, the waitress comes up and asks Radio, do you want strawberry pie or do you want apple? And Radio's response is, I want both. I want them both. See, because normally, I mean, what was her question? Do you want strawberry or apple? She immediately gave him the tyranny of or, because who asks for both? It's either or. Do you want coffee or tea? Do you want this or that? And Radio masterfully says, because I understand that what I am, the metaphysical, because I understand what I truly am, I understand that I have more options than what you are affording me, and I choose both. Both and. I want the strawberry and the apple. Where in your life today are you afforded the opportunity to have both? Can you be both grieving and joyful? Both and. Can you be both in a state of, I know who and what I am as the infinite divine manifestation of God in, through, and as me? And because of this health challenge, I have to navigate whatever it is that I am feeling: anger, sadness, fear. Can both and be there instead of saying, well, in New Thought, there is only God and God is always good. So you have to be happy all the time. You have to have a smile on your face all the time. So I can't authentically feel what I feel because I have to choose one or the other. Now, I refuse to choose because the truth of my being, the truth of my experience is a both and truth, a both and experience. Ralph Peters says the great paradox of the 21st century is that in this age of technology, the biggest problems we face internationally are problems of the human soul. See, it's not about war and rumors of war. It's not about there's not enough of whatever it is, not enough food, not enough this, not enough that. It's not about any of that. What it's really about is the human soul. And if we live from that truth and address others from that truth, then the issues of war, lack and scarcity, inequities, all that would be resolved. But we're looking at it superficially. We are treating the symptoms rather than the cause. When someone shows up in the hospital with a fever, if the doctors only address the fever, then what's causing the fever may continue to spiral and take the person's life. So you treat the fever and look for the cause of the fever. Is it an infection? Is it a viral something going on? Is it something else? Is it something they ate? Is it the flu? Is it COVID? Is it, you treat and address cause. So whatever the effects are, war, hunger, poverty, inequities, and address the human soul and the consciousness of the individual and the collective consciousness, and there is healing and evolution. Breathe. One of the things that's going on, nowadays is the temptation to quickly other and cancel. The image of the four men in the boat, the two at the upper end, the end that's not in the water, and the end where the hole doesn't exist. I'm sure glad the hole isn't at our end, but you're in the same boat. So the hole is going to affect you. The sinking boat is going to affect you. You may think that because you are white, racism does not affect you. It does. You may think that because you are wealthy, poverty does not affect you. It does. You may think that because you are not currently incarcerated, the judicial system and the system of incarceration, prisons and penitentiaries, you may think it doesn't affect you, but it does. Now let's pause and think about, why do we point the finger at others and blame them? Why do we think that it's a problem of whatever it is? It's a problem of politics. Well, politics was created by humans. Politics is an outpicturing of what was in the consciousness of the people who created it. So if there's a problem with it, that problem is solved through consciousness. So when we think of cancel culture, what we are thinking about is how quickly people want to vilify and shut down and shut off whatever the quote unquote disliked thing, disliked person is. We want to erase them. It's like book banning, book burning. I don't like the book, so I'm going to completely get rid of it. Not just for myself. I'm going to get rid of it so you don't even have an option to have it. The real reason cancel culture is so contentious, people on both sides of the debate are being too vague about what they favor and what they oppose. I invite you to go to this article and actually read it. But two things I want to point out is referencing this idea of cancel culture is always clarify and be more specific. So, whatever's going on, clarify it. Don't leave it vague. Be specific. I'm hungry. What do you want? Food. That's not specific. But I give you food and you say, that's not what I want. Well, what do you want? Something good. You're not clarifying. You're not being specific. Do you want a sandwich? Do you want salad? Do you want pizza? What do you want? I just told you, but you didn't. So even when it's a person, what is the reason we are judging them? What is the reason, and what is it about the judgment that we're judging regarding them or regarding the system? Rather than just saying politics is corrupt, let's clarify what that means. Let's be more specific so that we can actually address the cause, so that we can actually change the cause. Be specific. You go to the doctor and the doctor says, "What's up?" "I'm in pain." Can you tell me where? "My body." "You mean like your whole body? Like right here in your shoulder?" "No, that doesn't hurt." "Well, you just said your body." Can you clarify? "I have a pain in this shoulder that radiates from the center outwards. It radiates down my arm and causes my hand to go numb to the point where I can't even pick up my phone because it falls because I have no strength in my hand. It happens anytime I raise my shoulder, raise my arm this way versus this way." That's very specific. It's a pain of about, when it hits, it's about a 5 out of a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being excruciating and I feel like I'm going to cry. Can we be specific in what it is that we are seeing in our lives in the world so that we can effectively bring spiritual practices to it rather than continuing to talk about in general and broad stroked ways? Now, I'm sure you know who this gentleman is, but did you know that there is a controversy regarding Gandhi? Gandhi is deeply revered, but his attitudes on race and sex are under scrutiny. This was from an NPR posting on October 2nd, 2019. Now, you may be saying, well, wait, what? Gandhi, what? Well, did you know that now, several years removed, that Gandhi made racist statements, and in light of what's going on with Black Lives Matter, this is coming to light more. In regards to the Me Too movement, people are questioning, well, wait a minute, didn't Gandhi used to lie beside naked young girls in order to test his willpower, to be able to abstain from the temptation, right? So with this, are we canceling Gandhi? Yes, Gandhi is still revered, and yes, he helped India free itself from British colonial rule in 1947, but he is under scrutiny, even though he's dead. He said of Black people that they are troublesome and very dirty and live like animals in 1903. So, yes, He has made some statements, and yes, he had some questionable sexual practices when looked at through the lens of what's going on nowadays. Yes, yes. But does that mean we cancel him? Now, that's for each person to decide. But take note that he did outgrow his racist ideas and ideologies as he evolved and went through his life till he became an avid anti-racist and was working toward ending racism and discrimination of all kinds. So he evolved. Now I don't know what he evolved with regarding his quote unquote sexual abstinence practices. I don't know. But once again, that is for each one of us to determine rather than simply saying, cancel him. The Dalai Lama, not too long ago, was under scrutiny because there's a practice in their form of Buddhism where a child will suck on the tongue of the monk. And people were up in arms like that's pedophilia and it's wrong and it's child abuse. Is it child abuse? Based upon our concept in the 21st century of what we are deeming as, okay, but is it child abuse? What is child abuse? Where is the line? Now, I'm not saying it is or it isn't. What I'm saying is all of these judgments, all of these that, this, wrong, or is based in our belief systems, our paradigms, and our consciousness. And if we are unwilling to even examine and ask, then the tipping point we are going to fall in the abyss of, and we are going to be strangled to death based upon the tyranny of or. We are going to continue to be enslaved by the tyranny of or, rather than allowing the liberation theology that science of mind and spirit is to truly set us free. It's a choice. Ask the questions rather than seek to judge and get to the end. Ask the questions that the paradox is offering us to explore. Dr. Holmes said, "Behold, I make all things new. There is nothing permanent but change. And the infinite intelligence can never be caught in anything it does," meaning it cannot be held captive. It cannot be bound by. What it does, expresses its being at the particular time. Tomorrow it may do it in an entirely different way, but always in accord with its own fundamental harmony. What it does is express whatever time, whatever person, whatever thing it expresses. And at some point, that may change. One would assume that it has to change because it is ever evolving. So and we understand that because we don't do the telephone the same way we once did. We don't do Sunday service or a telecall. We don't do any of these things in the same way we once did. As technology evolved, we adapted, we changed. As automobiles changed, we changed. The original Model T versus a regular 1976 Ford versus a Hyundai electric car. Things change, which is a demonstration of an ever evolving consciousness. Why don't we apply that same creative intelligence to things like racism and sexism? So that rather than being in a cancel culture, what we are in is a healing culture. Rather than othering and pointing fingers and blaming, we move into the energy of how do we heal? How do we collectively evolve? How do we address whatever the ill is? A healing culture envelops. It has no reason to push out. Because even when we look at someone in the clan, they're addicted in the same way that someone can be addicted to crack. They're addicted to their ideology. In a healing culture, we seek to understand the addiction. In a healing culture, we seek to help the addicted. We seek to set them free. We seek to intervene. There has to be an intervention for healing to occur. A healing culture envelops and nurtures and loves and is willing to ask the questions in order to find the most effective life affirming responses. Not response, responses. Multiple. So how do we do that? How are we invited to practice that? Dr. Holmes says, change is the law of human experience. We practice it by understanding and identifying and recognizing change. For only God is permanent. The infinite mind is forever conceiving new ideas, new creations, new forms of expression. And the infinite law is forever producing the new creations, new forms, new expressions. So we practice it by being in the energy of change. Note how many ways and times we've changed. We changed physically. We don't look the same as we did when we were 2. We don't look the same as we did last week, possibly. We change our hair color. We change the frames of our glasses. We change our clothes, which changes our appearance. We are enveloped in change. The weather changes, and we change what we wear or how we dress and umbrellas to adapt to the changes in temperature, rain or no rain, etc. We are enveloped in it. So why not embody it in a deeper way where we are willing to truly question? So same thing a doctor does, they ask you 1,001 questions when you go in for a checkup or whatever, because they want to hear what are the symptoms, what's going on. And from hearing, oh, there's this, okay, and there's that, from all of their tests and questions, their inquiry, they are better able to treat us as patients. Now, metaphysically, what we're doing is we are looking at the symptoms, the effects, and we're invited to go back into cause, which is consciousness. Now, you've heard me mention this many, many times, and one reason is because I'm currently writing a book about it, our mental equivalence. So what is our mental equivalent? Causing to become the effects. How are, whatever it is, health and well-being, finances, relationships, romance, whatever it is, these are effects. They're in the realm of conditions. If we want the conditions to change, whatever that is, including the ills of the world, war is an effect. Racism is an effect. How do we address our individual mental equivalence and the mental equivalence of the collective consciousness so that we can adequately and effectively heal what needs to be healed by knowing the truth and practicing the truth? Dr. Holmes said, evil is not the absence of good. It is not the lack of good. It is not inverted good. It is not good turned wrong side out. Evil is simply the absence of the recognition on the part of the individual of perfection. So evil is the inability to see perfection. Don't do anything with it. Let it alone and it will swallow itself up. Anything that is unlike good or God cannot exist very long. I hear him. I understand what he's saying. I don't agree. So let's remix this. Evil is not the absence of good. We're going to start same way. It is not good turned wrong side out. What evil is an outward expression due to a collective consciousness that the individual is acting upon. The individual does not know of the perfection that they are as life living itself. Address whatever this is in the same way that you would address hunger, either your hunger or another's hunger. Heal it. When you see a need, address it. And for us, we are addressing it based upon what we know and understand about the perfection that God is. We are whole, we are perfect, and we are complete. And it is from that awareness, steeped in principle, anchored and grounded in truth, that we then go out and move our feet. We become the beneficial presence in the world. We're not doing it because of we have to fight evil. No, we have to fight racism. No, you don't fight racism. Racism is a symptom. You don't fight the fever. You understand the fever. You don't fight the addiction. I don't fight cocaine. You don't fight alcohol. You understand the addiction to cocaine or the addiction to alcohol. And in understanding the addiction, you understand the addict better, the one who is addicted. You understand what it is that is holding them captive. And in understanding that, you also find the way to set them free. And you do it from, I know that the perfection of this person, I know that health and well being exists. And it is because I know that health and well being exists that I know that they can move from being addicted to free, addicted to healthy, that they can move from being insecure to secure or more secure, that they can move from being terrified to have fear to fear less, to the point of they can function pretty much with fear not being a thing at all, right? The process. But it comes from understanding what's creating this, what's going on that is making this out picture in the way that it is. Just leaving it alone isn't going to heal them. Not helping people who are hungry isn't going to heal them or feed them. Not addressing whatever it is and just saying, oh, well, leave the neo-Nazis alone. They'll fizzle out on their own. Will they? If you don't treat whatever the illness is, cancer, COVID, just leave it alone. Don't do anything to it, and it will take care of itself. Will it? Is that the nature of it to say, no one's paying attention to me, so I'm going to just leave now? Now, yes, there are things that run their course, and then they go about their business. But not everything, the consciousness of war, racism, those things don't have a start time and end time. The course, while it will change, because war today is not what it was. How many years ago was war simply people throwing rocks and sticks at each other? And then those rocks and sticks became spears and arrows, and those arrows became guns, and those guns became bombs, and the bombs became nuclear and atomic weapons. So even the consciousness of that has evolved, has changed. But if we want to completely eradicate that consciousness, to move beyond it so it is no longer a thing of concern today, then it has to be addressed. We have to be willing to look at the consciousness that creates it, perpetuates it, and then heal it. And the tyranny of or doesn't help us with that. I love the metaphysics of Star Wars, and one aspect of Star Wars that many Star Wars fans fight about is there's a scene where Obi-Wan says only a Sith deals in absolutes. And then they go back and reflect, well, didn't Yoda say do or do not? There is no try. And they say, well, clearly because Yoda is dealing in absolutes, that means Yoda must be a Sith or is Sith-like. So if there is do or do not, what's the third way in that? Just as a way of engaging the conversation, what would be a third way? Just saying. To engage in the conversation, what might a third way be? Albert Einstein said, few people are capable of expressing with equanimity options which differ from the prejudices of their social environment. Most people are even incapable of forming such opinions. How do we develop? Well, first, let's even ask, what is equanimity? What is prejudice? What's an opinion? How are opinions formed? How are prejudices formed? What must someone believe? What's going on in their consciousness to form a prejudice, a bias? Keeping in mind that not all prejudice or bias or whatnot, they're not all quote unquote bad or wrong or non-life affirming. I can be biased towards chocolate ice cream versus strawberry ice cream. This is my favorite. There's something about it doesn't resonate with me. I don't like the taste of that. That's fine. No one is being hurt or harmed in the making of that film. But when it comes to biases regarding someone's hairstyle or hair texture, when there are biases regarding what a real man is or a real woman is, etc. These biases and these prejudices and these harmful opinions hurt people. They oftentimes result in people being killed. So it would benefit us to look at what opinions do we have? What opinions do I have? What biases do I have? Implicit and explicit that I know about, because I may not know about all of them, and that's part of the process. But which ones do I know about? Which ones am I willing to know about? How do I find the third way so that there is greater equanimity? See, in the realm of Star Wars, you're either a Jedi or you're Sith. And yet, within the Jedi, there is the third way, which is the gray Jedi. Those who understand both the dark side and the light side, and rather than vilify, their energy pattern is yin yang, dark and light, existing as one balanced being, which is our invitation. We're quick to say that the ugly duckling is ugly and should be cast out, cast aside. Thou art so hideous. And yet, as Curtis Tyrone Jones says, it's funny how the ugly duckling always has so many beautiful things to offer us, to teach us, to invite us into. And we can only accept the invitation if we're willing. The third way. To rather than say that the ugly duckling is ugly and therefore, but that the ugly duckling is a judgment, and that judgment is based upon a belief, and that belief is rooted in a consciousness that comes from somewhere. Being open at the top is a practice of flexibility. It is being flexible enough to continue shifting, growing, evolving into more and more and more effective and life affirming ways. It is what was balancing what was with what is and what can be. Pre COVID, we knew one way of doing church, business, education. And yet, post COVID, we found other, new, and various ways to gather, to teach, to practice, to communicate, to share, and to evolve. If we remain open at the top, we will not need another pandemic to encourage us to shift and change. We will innately be our own reason to evolve and to continue evolving. This week's affirmation or declaration, I will say it first, and if it resonates with you, say it with me on the second go round. I release everything that is no longer serving me. I embody everything that does serve me. Together. I release everything that is no longer serving me. I embody everything that does serve me. And so it is. This week's questions. Where do you tend to cancel people? And why do you do it? Number 2. What are some of the biggest problems that you see in our world today, and what is the cause of those problems? Number 3. What does the third way look like to you regarding the polarities of those problems? Where do you find it hardest for you to remember the benefits of the other or another side or perspective? And lastly, what is one step that you can take towards the third way, being open at the top and bottom? What is one step that you can take toward being more open at the top and the bottom? Now let us anchor ourselves in the awareness of truth. Simply knowing that what we are is the expression of the all that is, there must be a 10,000 ways of being, expressing, creating. There need not be simply one way to sing a song, one way to play a piano, one way to dance, one way to do business, that there are thousands upon thousands upon thousands of ways. And that by stepping into the variations, stepping into the diversity, stepping into the mystery, we avail ourselves to the both and, to the this and, and. And by being in this space of, we find answers where before there were brick walls. The answers open doors. The answers break the walls down. The answers set us free. And so, as this Sunday message comes to a close, we anchor and ground in the truth of our being that we are already free, that we are the very expression of freedom itself. And knowing that, being steeped in that as principle, we then live, move, and have our beingness as this freedom, which means even if we do not feel free, knowing that we are, I am, and There are times that I don't feel it. The both and. And by embracing the both and, the yin, the yang, we are able to move through life in a more empowered way, which then empowers others, which then transforms the consciousness, which then evolves all of humanity, which then results in a world that truly does work for all. So as we close this message, we avail ourselves to the invitation. We accept. We RSVP back to the universe. Oh, I'm showing up. I'm going to be there. And there I shall fully participate in the full activity that I am being invited into, the party of life, the construction of the beloved community, the celebration of the divine. I accept the invitation. I am there, right where I am. Breathe. Knowing that the law says, yes, we allow this truth, we allow this awareness, we allow it to be what it is, answered prayer, which means it's done now, right here. And so we go and we live this truth. Breathe. And so it is. And so it is. Namaste, blessings, much love and appreciation, and we'll see you soon.